What's up, people? JayDub here, and you are now tuned in to a very special edition of Pro Wrestling Talk Radio, the show where wrestling fans rate and debate their hottest topics in the world of wrestling. The hot topic we're going to be discussing tonight is Elimination Chamber. The pay-per-view just concluded yesterday, and we're going to be talking about it throughout the show. As I said, I'm JayDub. I'm joined on the hosting panel by David.
What's up, people? How you doing?
Stu.
I love all of you. Give me money.
And Charlie.
Stu, you're supposed to write me material for this segment.
Tough stuff, man.
Literally.
So let's get on to our Elimination Chamber review. And by the way, to all of the people listening, make sure if you're listening on archive or something like that, make sure you put your comments and your thoughts on the show down in the comment section on PWF Empire. We really want to know what you think about the show, as we were about to tell you guys what we think about the show. So we got the night started off with a WWE Championship match, Raw's Elimination Chamber. CM Punk successfully defends versus Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, R-Truth, Kofi Kingston, and Chris Jericho.
Lord have mercy. It's going to be a long road to WrestleMania. Yeah, I liked the Raw Elimination Chamber. Don't get me wrong. Although I thought it was a bit odd that it started out the show. But to be honest, they probably knew that the rest of the show wasn't going to be much. So better yet, they start off the show with something like this. This was probably the most exciting match of the night. A lot of great spots. Kofi got nailed a lot, and he actually had to get staples. I'll link it on my Twitter, but it looked pretty nasty. I'd probably recommend you not look at it. Dolph got the train ran on him. He did some cool stuff. I think he did some pull-ups or something like that on the chain link fence, not really taking himself too seriously or not really taking his opponents too seriously. But, that's just how his character's been evolving lately. The Miz actually lasted a whole hell of a lot longer than I thought he would. He actually looked pretty decent. Punk kicked out of his skull-crushing finale, but I think that's one of the first times that's happened. But anyway, he did good. It actually looked like he had some animosity towards Punk, or maybe his punches are just getting better because he was really nailing him, But I try not to get too much into the rumors, but, maybe he just wants to, show that he's, not slipping up in the ring. But I think he did good. Kofi, yeah, he got hurt pretty bad. Punk did pretty good, as we know. He retained his championship. But I'm trying to remember who else was in the chamber. They probably must have sucked because I really can't remember them. Can someone refresh my memory?
R-Truth is the only one you have not mentioned.
It's always the black guy that goes first. No wonder I can't remember him. He went first pretty quickly, I think. I think he only got to do his finisher, and someone kicked out of it, and then they just took his behind out of the chamber.
Technically, that hasn't been his finisher as of late, but...
Yeah, and they just took his behind.
Right after Booker T goes, I taught him how to do that move effectively, and then the guy kicks out.
It's just, you see how they be doing, my brothers, man? It's just not right. But yeah, good. It was a good fight. I wouldn't recommend going out of your way to see it. It certainly wasn't the best type of chamber, but hey, at least it was better than the SmackDown chamber from the night.
Better than the SmackDown. Yeah, I'll get to that in a minute. Honestly, it didn't really feel like Punk was in any danger of losing. That's the main problem that I had with this. It just kind of felt like it was there because, Raw needs an Elimination Chamber too, so we're just going to have Kofi, replace Jomo as everyone's favorite spot monkey. And Miz looked awesome, though. I will admit, if they were trying to build up Miz, or if he just looked...
Pun intended.
Yeah, exactly. If he just looked good on his own, I'm not sure what it was, but he looked pretty good. He looked like he could hold his own. He looked like he deserved to be in the main event. Good for him. As for R-Truth and Ziggler, nothing really to note from them, but honestly, Punk, what can you say, man? He's going into Mania as the champ, but it never really felt like he was in danger of losing. That's the main problem that I have with this match. But
the roster's so piss poor.
But all in all, there is a bit of a separation, a disparity in the Raw roster. I'm not going to lie, but all in all, decent match for what it was worth. Again, I wouldn't go out of your way to watch it, but for what it was worth, not bad.
This was a really good match. Didn't expect anything less with the level of talent in the ring and the concept of the match. All of the guys added to the quality of the show, with Kofi Kingston getting the MVP award from me. That Spider-Man move on the wall of the chamber, then the tornado DDT on Ziggler to the steel floor, that was fucking awesome. You had a lot of the other pretty cool things that happened in the match. Also, Jericho and Punk battling each other before Jericho got knocked out. That was the highlight of the match for me. It's like they did just enough to be good, but held back and left everybody wanting more. And I guess we are going to get that because of the way Jericho exited the match. Punk kicks Jericho in the head. He falls out of the chamber. And he's deemed like not able to continue with the match, so he never actually got eliminated. This is a catalyst that they're going to use to go ahead with Punk and Jericho at Mania. I can't wait for that, and I can't wait for this feud to finally kick into high gear because they've been kind of toying around with it. They haven't gone full throttle with Jericho and CM Punk yet, and it's about damn time that they do, seeing that it is WrestleMania season.
Yeah, and I thought that was a really good decision, too, because now you don't have to hot shot the belt. You don't have to have, like, Jericho win it here and then Punk win it again in, like, a month. So I thought that was actually a really creative way to build towards WrestleMania and not have to have Punk lose the belt.
What were your full thoughts on the match?
I thought it was great. I thought everybody had a purpose. Everybody did a lot of great spots. R-Truth, for me, really actually, like, he's in there for a short time, kickstarted the fast pace that it had. Had a lot of good action. I gave it 4 out of 5. Did really well to build to WrestleMania. My only thing is, if you were going to have Miz be in the final 2, you should have had him at least eliminate R-Truth to make himself look a little more credible after tapping out to Punk on Monday. So overall, I thought the match had some really great action. It was really good.
As our other co-host said, I think his performance itself, that made him look a little bit more credible than he would have normally looked, because he did look pretty impressive throughout the match. He had a big dominant streak going on, and I won't look too much into that because let's remember the Royal Rumble. The Miz he had the longest reign in that match, and there's been no improvement whatsoever with the Miz's standing in WWE, at least looking from the outside in. So I'm not going to look too much into his impressive outing in the Elimination Chamber and say the Miz is, about to uprise again.
I do want to nitpick the spot where Jericho gets kicked out of the chamber, and I mean, you could argue that sort of killed the momentum. That, again, you could say that Truth started again. He did his job. I'm not going to complain, but I'm not going to complain that it killed the momentum either, because you could argue either way that it's set up for Punk and Miz, and you really did legit believe that it was an injury. But I am going to nitpick this a little bit because it said on WWE's Facebook that that Jericho was cleared to compete for tonight's Raw. Tell me any other sport with any sort of governing body that allows a competitor to compete the next night after being knocked unconscious. That kind of gets to me a little bit. I mean,
that's
I know
WWE writers for you.
But
we're going to move on to the next match now. The Divas Championship match was the second fight of the night. Beth Phoenix defeated Tamina and retained her Divas title.
Let me mention this before. I'm pretty sure that I've already said it, but I have nothing against women's wrestling. I believe that they have every right in there just as much as the men to be in there. I think that some of the women are better than some of the men on the WWE roster right now. But as for this match, I felt like in the beginning I thought that I was going to, go to the bathroom. But I stayed. I gave them a chance, and I'm pleasantly surprised. I actually thought it was a good match. I wouldn't say it was great, but it showcased Tamina's push a lot. It showed off a little bit of her personality. She didn't want to give up. The best way I could describe it is Jeff Hardy's push back in 2009, I think, with Triple H. And Jeff Hardy kept getting back up. He couldn't be broken. He lost a lot, actually, going into the match where he actually won the WWE Championship. I think he lost a couple of times to Triple H and was always like, hey, give me one more match, man, give me one more match. And I think the same thing is going to happen with Tamina. But it was a good match. A lot of stiff spots by both women. There was a spot where Tamina fell out of the ring back first, and I don't think I've ever recalled seeing a man do that before. So, very, very nice match. I'm pleasantly surprised with Tamina and Beth.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think the match basically consisted of, and don't get me wrong, this was a very good match in terms, at least compared to most of the Divas matches that you see. This is very good. One thing that I could do without is the mentioning constant. I think it felt like every 15 seconds they mentioned that that Tamina was the daughter of Superfly Snuka. My God, man! Like, we get it. You know, Snuka porked a woman. She farted out a baby. It happened to be Tamina. We get it. Stop. But overall, yeah, you know, Tamina looked strong with it. She hit 2 very good moves. I mean, the splash still looks awkward, but you know, it's nothing that she can't work on. She can definitely improve, but she did a pretty good job. I would say that Beth would have to hit more than 1 Glam Slam, at least to make Tamina look a little strong, but, you know, overall, not going to complain. Good match.
I did think this match was decent. I think Beth did enough to carry it to a decent rating. I didn't think it was really good or anything, but I do like how the announcers for a change were actually doing something to help the match, and that they were discussing how this was Beth's toughest test throughout the match. They were saying how tough Tamina was and how this is the biggest test Beth's had in her title reign, which is good because she wins, and that can build towards what we hope will happen, and she'll face the person we all want her to, and it really looks like she's the most dominant female, and then that person can come back. Hopefully that's where we go. If that happens, we'll be building to WrestleMania again, which is what the show's supposed to do. So I gave this 2 stars. I thought it was pretty good for what it was.
Would this returning superstar happen to be black?
I have no idea what you're talking about, but we're going to go ahead and continue on. I actually like this match. I mean, nothing blew me away about it, but for what we usually get from the Divas, this was a huge improvement. It was nice to see a break from the revolving door of the same old Divas getting shot after shot after shot, and just so happens this Diva, Tamina, can actually hold her own in the ring and doesn't look like she's over her head. The dynamic of the match was different than usual. Beth had to change her game up, seeing as Tamina was a whole hell of a lot more powerful and had a lot more skill than a lot of the other Divas Beth has faced, and that goes to what Charlie was saying about Tamina being Beth's biggest test, and that really added to the quality of the match. Now, Stu, I'm going to have to disagree with you on the whole point of them continually mentioning that Tamina is Jimmy Snuka's daughter, because I believe that since they started this up with her, like when they started her push, they started to mention that she was his daughter. Like, they always acknowledged it, but she like officially started to use the last name. She even like adapted some of her father's repertoire in the ring and some of his mannerisms, and I think it's worked to make her a more interesting character. We all talked about last week on the show that we don't really know much about Tamina, and she's been in WWE for what, going on 2 years now, and I think I'm finally starting to get a sense of who she is, and hopefully after this, the match was less about Tamina and more about Beth Phoenix continuing her dominant streak. I'm hoping that they find some kind of place for her in the Divas division, because I believe she can be an asset to the Divas. Where do you guys see Tamina going from here?
I see her eventually becoming Divas champion. I think that when you know who makes their possible return, they're going to get a pretty good reign, but somewhere down the line, whether it be face or heel, Tamina is going to be a pretty big star.
Hopefully Tamina stays in the scene. I really would like to see that, but if I could just respond to what Jay said. I mean, there is bringing up that she is Superfly's daughter. There's that, and then there's mentioning it every 15 freaking seconds. I mean, it gets to a point where it just kind of gets absurd. And really, I get that you're trying to put his persona on her, but eventually she will have to break free of that, sort of like what Cody Rhodes did, or what Ted DiBiase is kind of doing. I'm not really sure, or what Randy Orton did. Perfect example, to a T exactly. So, I mean, yes, do the whole Snuka thing now, but eventually create your own personality. Albeit she does look a little more manly.
I think she can continue to improve, get better in the ring. And the problem with the Divas is that unless you're feuding for the belt, you don't really do anything. So maybe we'll see at some point she'll kind of, if they can do some kind of side thing where she keeps having matches instead of just having Beth versus some random girl on every show. Not on pay-per-view, but just have her have matches on SmackDown to help her get better. And eventually she can definitely down the line compete with that person who we hope will return.
Yeah, if you're a diva and you're not feuding for the championship, you're not doing anything except, maybe getting tortured or potentially kidnapped and, things like that. But I digress. Moving on. Following the Divas match, we had the second chamber match of the night, which was for the World Heavyweight Championship. Daniel Bryan defending versus Big Show. Wade Barrett, Cody Rhodes, The Great Khali, and Santino Marella. Danny Bryan wins and retains his world title by making Santino tap out.
I'm going to be quite honest. I didn't expect the Elimination Chamber to be pretty much back-to-back for most people. I'm going to assume that a lot of people went to the bathroom or, masturbating or doing whatever during the Divas match. But the SmackDown Chamber match, nonetheless, came on very early. It should have been the main event, probably, but, hey. Yeah, I really wanted Christian to be in this match. He came back. I believe there was a segment before this match where they're doing whatever, I guess a vote of confidence, and Christian was there. Alberto Del Rio made his return as well, Mark Henry. And, I really would have wished that Del Rio would have gotten in the chamber. I think that Del Rio versus Sheamus would have been a more WrestleMania type of feel to, for their feud. But Daniel Bryan retaining, hey, maybe they're going to do something big with him. A lot of people hate when I try to compare, but the best way I can compare this to is back in 2002, WrestleMania 18, where Triple H fought Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho was pretty much an undeserving champion. Every turn he got, he would always win, and you're like, how the hell did this guy get the belt? He beat all of these people he sure as hell shouldn't have beaten. But, I think this is the same thing with Daniel Bryan. I expect Sheamus to get some kind of, something's going to happen to him on the road to WrestleMania that's going to hamper him. It's going to hurt his chances at the WrestleMania match, because they're not going to just have Sheamus come out and run him over like a truck, But anyway, as far as the match is concerned, it was boring as hell for the first 15 minutes, and then it finally got better with Big Show and Daniel Bryan. Big Show pretty much got his revenge, so I guess he's going to turn heel and fight Shaq, since he confirmed he's going to fight him at Mania. But I think that Daniel Bryan, he's a pretty good seller. He got thrown through the cage, thrown through the glass, and I laughed every time they said it was bulletproof, yeah, right? But anyway, he got thrown through the glass, and Big Show had a pretty cool spot where he jumped on the top rope and ripped out the chain link fence. Instead of waiting for the pod to open, he ripped the chain link fence open, got inside the cage, and started beating the crap out of him. It was hilarious. And, he tossed him around like a rag doll. Wade Barrett did pretty good, but he pissed me off during the match because Big Show could have pinned Daniel Bryan, and we would have had a new world champ, but he screwed it up for whatever reason and just beat the crap out of Big Show, giving Daniel Bryan enough time to rest. Santino, whether you like him or hate him, he is over as hell. He's honestly proved me wrong, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but Santino is so over at this point. I really could see him getting a semi-main event push at this point. You can't do anything to hide it. That guy is over as hell. So, yeah, I think that the last 15 minutes of the match was pretty cool. I actually slightly thought, just like in the Royal Rumble of 2011, that Santino was going to win. Just like here, I really thought that Santino was going to win and, hold the belt for, a week or two and just drop it back. So that was pretty cool. Santino did a lot better job than I thought he would have did. Khali sucked balls, as usual, but thank God they got rid of his ass in, the first minute. So, yeah, not a great chamber by any means. Probably one of the worst ones, but it sure as hell wasn't as bad as the ECW chamber. So, hey, at least it wasn't that bad.
Or Goldberg buried the whole roster. That was a pretty bad one, too.
He's Goldberg. He's supposed to do that.
Really? Honestly, the SmackDown Chamber, I think, was the best match of the night. Granted,
What? Can you repeat that?
He has a legitimate argument there.
Granted, it started out god-awful. I mean, even before Khali came in, it was slow. It was tedious. I mean, I don't really think that you need to work a methodical match inside of an Elimination Chamber. It's one of those matches where it's supposed to be, absolutely, just absolute mayhem. And I get that when there's only two people in the ring, it kind of goes slow at first. But this was remarkable. I mean, snail-paced. It was ridiculous. And then Khali came in. I mean, the only thing that I can really that I can say about the Big Show is that he did hit that spear, which is honestly pretty awesome. Cody Rhodes, a workhorse, providing.
I think they're a thank you Big Show chance too.
And honestly, Wade Barrett, for as much crap as I've given him in terms of his standing within the company and about how buried he is, he looked absolutely deranged. That spot where he slammed the door on Bryan, that was sickening, absolutely sickening. But and Santino, I'm going to say something about Santino. I say that he legit has an argument to be a main eventer or at least a jobber for the stars sort of thing, because I could see him being sort of like a Colt Cabana kind of guy. You know, I mean, the surprisingly competent, goofball that can really go. I mean, if they bill him like that, and if WWE actually has a character like that, then I don't see why you can't do that. Overall, Bryan retains the belt. He did a good amount in this match too. He took some brutal hits again. Getting the door slammed on him, and I think he was on point. He didn't put over Santino. He allowed Santino to hit the crowbar. That was a great false finish, by the way. People actually believed that he could do it. But again, Bryan hits the LeBell lock, or locks in the LeBell lock, and Santino taps out. What can you say? But Bryan's going into WrestleMania as the champ, whether you like it or not. So honestly, I think they can do something with his character to improve it. Hopefully they do. But his character is pretty good as it is. But I mean, in terms of being over with the crowd.
I'm just going to say this. I'm pretty sure this guy booked it. Michael P.S. Hayes, writer of the century. This match completely proved that the guys in the back can take a match with minimal workers and turn it into something great. This match was beautifully booked. I thought it was really good. It started off very slow, but, from the point where, Big Show broke into Bryan's cage, the match picked up. It got really good. You had some brutal stuff with Barrett and Bryan. And then the build to Santino, where he got the roll up on Rhodes, was really good. He stole Bryan off the, I thought it was the diving headbutt. We've already seen what that does to people, but if you want to, it's fine. He pins Wade. I thought stealing the pin was fine. It didn't really look like he actually did it. And then those two pins got the fans so behind him, and it was just such a sequence. The great thing about the Cobra is when usually someone brought up a great point earlier. When you see people hit finishers, your first thought is, are they going to kick out? When you see Santino hit the finisher, your first thought is, oh my God, is he going to win? I think that's a really great thing. The end of the match was really fun. I think it did some good things for Daniel Bryan because the fans were so behind Santino. He really looked like the guy who, derailed the fan favorite. I thought this went really well. I didn't think it was as good as the Raw Chamber, but I think it was just barely below it. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. A really, really well-booked match, and definitely proved us wrong in saying that this was going to be bad.
I am going to side with Stu on this one. Call me crazy, but I also think that this was...
You're crazy.
Well, hell, you're crazy too, since I agree with you. But, yeah, I actually really enjoyed this match. I'll go as far as to say it was my favorite match of the night, even better.
Can you repeat that again?
The SmackDown Elimination Chamber was the best match of the night. You had some great action.
This is your brain on drugs.
Look, there was great action in the match. Rhodes and Barrett double-teaming the Big Show. I don't really have a problem with how the match started out. I know it started out slow. They had to work their way up to a point where it could get fast-paced. It's kind of tough doing that when you have the Big Show in the ring since he's big. He's big as hell. So, once the match started to fill up, I thought it got really great. Like I said, Rhodes and Barrett double-teaming the Big Show. I like that. Barrett powerbombing Daniel Bryan to the chamber wall. That was awesome. And Bryan, he was pretty impressive himself throughout the match. The Big Show breaking through the top of Daniel Bryan's pod. My favorite moment of the match, favorite moment of the night. That was fucking awesome. And I know Big Show's whole dominant act, it does have the propensity to get kind of tedious and things. You get kind of tired of seeing the Big Show being the big dominant guy just rolling over everybody. But I think it really worked within the concept of the Elimination Chamber and how he used the chamber to attack all of the other guys in the match and just throw them around like rag dolls. I thought that really worked in this match, and it added greatly to the entertainment quality. Now, somebody else who added to the entertainment value of this match, Santino. I don't know where the hell all of this interest in Santino has come from, but I have to say that it is a fun experience. There's definitely an argument to be made that this should not be happening anywhere near WrestleMania. Like, I won't go as far as some of my co-hosts, like, saying that Santino should have a run in the main event and things like that. I don't want to see Santino with a world championship. I don't want him to be the world champion at WrestleMania, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, Superstars, NXT, hell, not even the world champion in my courtyard,
not
in
even
my apartment building. Nowhere.
Damn, not even in WWE 12?
No. Nowhere. I don't want to see Santino with a world championship at all. But you absolutely can't deny, as some of you guys have said, the response that he got from the crowd. I don't think that, correct me if I'm wrong, but did Santino get, like, the biggest pop of the night?
He did. Even bigger than John Cena and CM Punk.
I think without question he got the biggest pop of the night. So the whole thing is, people out there love to say WWE doesn't listen to the fans. How about you? If you found yourself ever saying that, how about you go watch Elimination Chamber, listen to the fans. Go watch SmackDown when Santino won the Battle Royal and go listen to the fans. Now, I'm not saying you have to change your opinion just because other people like Santino, but there is a market out there for him. Where it comes from, I have no friggin' idea whatsoever, but they can't be denied. And
he reminds me of...
Go ahead.
He reminds me a lot of Eugene and Mankind. You know, there's these goofy characters. It's like, why the hell is he a professional wrestler? He has no credibility, but you still like him, you know?
They were doing those vignettes to Eugene's old thing.
Yeah, that's what I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, like, oh my God, like, okay, are they
just for the guitar.
Are they sort of haphazardly calling Santino retarded? Because I can sort of see that, but...
Like, you know, like the weird thing was I wasn't looking at the screen. I heard that music hit, and I was like, oh, hell no. And I looked back, and I was like, okay, good. And I just kind of turned away again.
I miss Eugene, man. He was hilarious.
He was good. And supposedly a damn good wrestler, despite, having a...
Yeah, the sad part is he came up with that gimmick.
Oh, geez.
He did that himself?
Yep.
Why would you do that to yourself? That's... Oh, Lord.
It's like Mick Foley willingly joined.
He proved one guy wrong. And that's Mr. James E. Cornette when he fired, or I don't know how to say fire, but ROH let go Colt Cabana and said, funny doesn't make money? Well, let's look at Santino. And also,
he doesn't make money. That's why his boys is wrestling in a cafeteria.
If you said the cheers on SmackDown were canned, look at that.
Yeah, they weren't canned at all. And you said he proved Jim Cornette wrong. I think he proved a lot of us wrong also. And we're big enough to admit, like, I went into the SmackDown Elimination Chamber like this is going to be a hot-ass mess, but turns out it was the best match of the night.
Honestly, but Charlie, you're big on the independents and all that. Would you agree with the comparison with Santino to possibly pulling off a Colt Cabana type character in WWE?
Definitely. I've always supported Colt Cabana. It's one of the things that I didn't agree with when he got let go from ROH and the phrase "funny doesn't make money." You can definitely, especially in a company like WWE, you can definitely have these characters. That's why I wanted them to sign and keep Colt Cabana this time, because he is a valuable talent. That guy can work in the ring and also make the fans laugh with great entertainment. And the good thing about it is, too, they do have Hollywood guys in the back, and this is where the Hollywood writers come into play. They can write really great segments for them, like the Rocky segments. I thought those were actually really entertaining, and I think that that's where the Hollywood guys have their place. And I think it really works in WWE.
Yeah. Next up was the United States Championship match, Jack Swagger versus Justin Gabriel. Swagger makes Gabriel tap out to the ankle lock.
I gave this a dud. This was nothing. This really sucked. I forgot Jack Swagger was in the company.
Yeah, I didn't see what the point of this match was. Absolutely no build-up. I mean, the thing is that the United States Championship obviously does not matter since it hasn't been defended at WrestleMania, at least within the past 5 years. It's probably even longer than that. In fact, I'm pretty sure that...
since John Cena won it as his first championship.
John Cena defeated the Big Show at WrestleMania 20. Is that true?
Yep, I'm pretty sure.
Wow, I knew it was at least one of the last three, but...
Nope, never mind. It got defended in 06 and 07 as well. Damn,
I had a feeling it was at least
oh, wait, never mind. No, that didn't happen because Chris Benoit was in those matches.
Will you make up your mind already? But anyway, it was... absolutely pointless. No build-up behind it. It's just, okay, Justin Gabriel gets a title match. Okay, why not? I mean, Gabriel, I think, is pretty over considering, that he can't work on the mic to save his life. And he kind of does have a dial tone personality. But the thing with the United States Championship is that you don't necessarily have to be great on the mic in order to hold it. You don't necessarily have to be that great a character. You can just be an exciting wrestler, a decent wrestler. Just if you can be a pure athlete, work your butt off, be a workhorse, I think you're worthy to hold a mid-card championship. You're probably not worthy to go past that, but I think that you're at least worthy to hold a mid-card championship and keep fighting down there. Keep on keeping the mid-card solid.
Yeah, well, you don't have to have mic skills, so you don't even have to be on TV. Just look at Jack Swagger.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, no, but the way that they buried the United States title is absolutely ridiculous. There is no reason why.
Was like winning that stuff,
it is a championship in the WWE. Did they just forget about the mid-card championships? Do they just not realize that these things exist? I mean, Cody Rhodes hasn't even reminded us that he's IC champion. What's the deal with that? You don't see them pushing the mid-card championships anymore. I get focusing on the main event. I get focusing on Punk versus Jericho. I get focusing on Bryan versus Sheamus. But you can't leave the mid-card titles neglected. I mean, Wade Barrett, Intercontinental Champion, jobbing to the Cobra at WrestleMania? That's ridiculous. United States Champion Sheamus, not even on the card. Why does WWE seem to completely forget that these mid-card titles exist?
David, what were your thoughts on the match?
Well, I actually was stupid enough to believe that Justin Gabriel had a shot. I actually am a fan of Justin Gabriel. I think that he has a pretty cool attire, too. I like that thing that comes out of his leg boots. But I think that it was probably a better decision to have Jack Swagger to stay as champion. I think what might happen, I'm not saying it's going to happen, is he's going to get Sheamus, which basically means that he was irrelevant before he won the U.S. title, always jobbing, losing, and then when he went into the U.S. title, it kind of makes up for what happened to him before, and then he'll go back to the main event. You can see that they're looking at pushing him. He made Mason Ryan tap out on Superstars. Obviously, no one gives a damn.
Not that.
Saying push and saying Superstars in the same sentence, that's like a...
Yeah.
He can't even main event WrestleMania. You could go higher than that now.
Yeah.
Holy
But Mason Ryan, I actually keep up with Superstars, and he wins.
Went on Superstars? Yeah, that went well.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, really.
But I think that Jack Swagger, there is a place for him if he just didn't suck so badly on the mic. Then again, you could just have him with Vicky Guerrero, which they've been doing lately. I think that he needs to work a little bit more on the ring, because if they're going to push him as an all-American, to be quite frank, I think that if anyone had a best-in-the-world gimmick, it should have been him. I think that he probably, if he wants to expand his, if he wants to get more over as a complete douchebag, as a complete guy who's he's so full of himself, I think that he needs to get more into his gimmick, become more like what he says, he all-American. He did that, a little bit of that on SmackDown when he was a World Heavyweight Championship. Well, when he was a World Heavyweight Champion, but, Anyway, on to the match. The match was a TV match, basically. It was filler. It was just basically to get the chamber, fixed up and stuff so you wouldn't be able to see it. It was okay, but, I wanted to see a 450. I wanted Justin Gabriel to win, but Jack Swagger needed to win more.
Anytime Hornswogg's at ringside on pay-per-view, we have an issue.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, I actually like both. I like both of these guys. I am a fan of Justin Gabriel also, but this match was so irrelevant. It's hard to get invested in the match when the only heat between the two competitors can be traced back to a fucking fart. If you did not see Elimination Chamber, that is how the match was booked. A backstage segment with Hornswoggle eating cheese and Natalya passing gas, just a hot ass mess. Moving on from that though, but yeah, that says all that needs to be said about this match. I did like Gabriel's corkscrew to Jack Swagger over the top rope, and the match wasn't actually bad, but they were just placed in a bad position, and there was nothing worth getting invested in.
No build. Period.
Exactly, and let's not even mention that Justin Gabriel is on Friday Night SmackDown, and they couldn't even find a damn Raw superstar to challenge Jack Swagger for the United States Championship. But, let's not act like the brand extension means anything these days anyway. So, moving on.
Yeah, you might want to tack on a.
Yeah, you digress.
Yes, I digress. The main event of the night was John Cena versus Kane in an ambulance match. Cena defeats Kane after dropping Kane off the top of the ambulance with the attitude adjustment. Cena then threw Kane into the back of the truck and wins.
So, did anyone remember when I said that Cena was not going to take any bumps? I was right. He hardly took any bumps. Hell, he kind of hardly sold.
Let's just ignore him getting choke slammed through the Spanish announce table.
Yeah, and still, being able to win the match. Super Cena. But anyway, I do like John Cena. I'm a fan of him. But as I've said before, and I'll say it again, the man needs to become more human. And he has been. This embrace the hate thing, it's been a bad storyline, but we've seen a more human side of him. He has flaws, as we've seen, and he kind of has a soft spot for the ladies, He did the same thing with Maria. But anyway, I thought that the match was not brutal, but it was boring. I was half paying attention. I honestly wanted to play on my Xbox. I was right next to my Xbox, and I was tempted to just play and, just kind of look at the match or just wait until it's over, and I'll just look at the TV and say, oh, this guy won. But I stayed for you guys because I knew I had to review the show the next day, and I kind of wish I would have been selfish. This was bad, really bad. See, I said it last week. It's going to be bad. Not brutal, but it's going to be bad, and Cena's going to win and hardly take bumps. Kane got the train ran on him. I feel bad for him. He's probably sore as hell. I don't really expect to see him tonight. If we do see him tonight, he's going to be like, saying he wants revenge, and probably some crap happens with him. But I don't expect a match from him tonight. He's going to be gone for a very long time.
This was such an absolute dud. It was unbelievable. I can't even. I'm not even sure if I can put it into words, but I'll at least try. There was no psychology, no real investment, no feeling that Cena was going to actually lose. I don't want to hear a single word about how good a worker Cena is. I get it.
Cena's a good worker.
Oh, hush. He has an engine. He can definitely go. The Royal Rumble. He at least he worked his butt off to at least get something else out of Kane. For all things considered, it was still a bad match, but yeah, he still at least he tried. It just didn't seem like it was terrible. No progression, no investment. Just one spot to the next. Like, okay, let's throw him into the stack of tables, which was really pathetic. And then the attitude adjustment on the cardboard. Honest to God, cardboard.
That's a cool spot, though.
Oh, it was so cool. Why would you have a pile of boxes just lying around? That is freaking stupid. It was like, what, does the set crew just not clean up? Whatever. Anyway, and worst part, and I know that it might be a bit too much, but the icing on the cake here, it was Cena didn't sell a damn thing. Not one. He takes Kane into the ambulance. All of a sudden, he develops the regenerative powers of Wolverine, and he starts jumping around, cracking jokes like nothing even happened. He didn't, absolutely nothing. I get that Cena's supposed to be Super Cena. I get that he's supposed to be like that, but even his character received a setback because he's now just the embrace the hate thing. It's gone. It's not going to come up again. He's not going to embrace the hate or anything like that. They're not going to mention this again. It was something for Kane to do. It was a reason for Kane to return. That's it. There's nothing going with this.
It was basically
back to square one with Cena's character.
Yeah, I didn't like this at all. I thought this match was just a whole lot. Let's walk up the ramp and punch each other, and then let's walk over here and another punch. And then this match was complete with such smart strategy as to have John Cena put Kane in a wheelchair and push him as far away from the ambulance as he possibly could. Match was boring. It was sluggish. It was like, why is this the fucking main event? The crowd only cared because they care about John Cena. They don't give a fuck about anything else that's going on. I thought this was slightly better than the last match. I gave it a 1.25 stars. Worst match of the night really set the... Actually, not the worst match of the night. The match before that was worse. Worst announced match of the night. It really left the show on a bad note. And in the end, this feud really didn't do anything.
I will admit.
And what did you say before? Sorry to interrupt you again, but Charlie, what did you say before about WrestleMania 25?
Oh, yeah. It's kind of like WrestleMania 25. We had all this great stuff, including one of the best WrestleMania, I think the best WrestleMania match of all time was Shawn and Undertaker won. Killed because you had this main event that nobody was bad and nobody gave a fuck about.
Well, you guys, after your constant tearing down of Cena and Kane, their feud over the last couple of weeks, I will admit that you guys did get me to doubt the match going into the show. I thought the concept would get a little cheesy, but they managed to work well within the stipulation. This match was outlined in a similar way to their match at the Royal Rumble. I felt, you guys already know I liked that match, and I felt that this one was a little more aggressive, and it turned out to be a better match. And we did get a definitive ending with John Cena winning the match, putting Kane in the back of the ambulance. This was a very competitive match. I think Kane works well with Cena by taking him out of his element as far as the in-ring portion goes. He was doing great taking Cena's character to new heights, but that seems to have been, stalled. I remember a few weeks ago in the show, I battled with Stu, Charlie, and David, I believe, about Cena's evolution as a character. They were pessimistic about it, and I was holding out hope that it would be a permanent change, but I did say if WWE flakes on it, that I would call them out. Well, now comes the time. Cena, he's been making great inroads with his character to add layers, but this feud has gotten so convoluted over the last couple of weeks, and I feel like what the main goal was here, enhancing Cena into WrestleMania, they completely forgot about it. It's like WWE did everything in their power to strip this feud down to its common denominator, and turns out it was what everybody thought it would be, a filler feud, a meaningless filler feud. And while I did enjoy the match, when I'm looking at the bigger picture, when I'm looking at the whole situation and how this should have helped John Cena going into WrestleMania, I feel like they failed, because I would agree with whoever said something about John Cena smiling and things, he's joking with Booker T asking if he's in his Fave 5. I'm like, are you fucking serious? This dude.
Well, to be fair, The Rock did that a lot too. It kind of added.
No, this is a different situation though. If you look at the grand scheme of things, you look at the entire picture. Kane has been torturing Zack Ryder. He's been torturing him, and this is supposed to be John Cena's best friend. Why the hell are you smiling? Why the hell are you laughing and having a party or whatever, worrying about Booker T's Fave fucking 5 when this dude has been torturing your best friend? He wants to end you. He wants to put an end to John Cena. He wants to put you in a fucking ambulance, and he wants to take your spot at WrestleMania.
And then again, we also
have
to remember when The Rock went on commentary while he was having a match. This was against Lance Storm.
Honestly,
go ahead, Stu.
The whole thing, I really do think that Cena and Kane are really lucky that this followed the United States Championship match, which was pretty freaking wretched. I mean, I don't remember seeing a match where the point of it was to beat up your opponent so bad to the point where you have to send him to the hospital, kayfabe, of course. And I really don't see how this shows that he overcomes the hate. I don't see how this shows that he's any more of a character than he was a couple months ago. And what are they going to do with Zack Ryder? Is he just going to come back and forget that this ever happened? This is how the WWE writing staff has always been. I'm going to fully expect that. With Zack, he's just going to go back to being himself. This whole hate angle thing is officially aborted. They're officially on to WrestleMania. Rock versus Cena. They're going to start cracking jokes again. They're going to completely forget about the fact that his best friend in storyline was massacred by the big red monster. So okay, we're going to forget about that now. So and forgetting the whole thing with Cena and Torres. So I just don't see how this. I don't see how this is better than the Royal Rumble match, and you guys know how much I ragged on that thing.
Well, I like the stipulation with the ambulance and them trying to throw each other in the back of the ambulance and how they worked in all of the little medical equipment and things like that. I thought that was pretty cool. But, yeah, like I said, the overall picture it is a disappointment because I was hoping, like, I was so rooting for this angle. I stood up for it when all of you guys were just, like, throwing the daggers and everything, and it turned out to be a disappointment. Like, it turned out to be exactly what all of you said it was.
And we fucking love to say we told you so.
Go ahead.
We told you so.
Yeah, but they could have done so much with John Cena, and I'm hoping that he somehow, some way. See, look at me. I'm still optimistic that John Cena will change his fucking character, into this feud with The Rock, because The Rock is going to start appearing on WWE TV, and we'll talk about this a little bit more on our show on Wednesday, because yes, guys, we will be having our regular Pro Wrestling Talk Radio on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, PWFempire.com, same place, same time. But yeah, just to put an end to this episode of PWTR with our Elimination Chamber review, let's go around the table and get your thoughts on the show as a whole and how this, goes into WrestleMania. Like, how does this match, how does this pay-per-view, how do you view it on its own, and also how do you view it as it's, the last stop before the road to WrestleMania?
Well, it's always been like this. The pay-per-view before WrestleMania is basically a filler pay-per-view. But to be honest, usually these pay-per-views suck. I thought that this was a nice pay-per-view. I wouldn't buy it on DVD, and I wouldn't recommend that you buy it on DVD. I probably wouldn't have bought it, but hey, it's a nice pay-per-view. Did I just say I probably wouldn't have bought it? How did I see the pay-per-view? I'm snitching on myself. Anyway, I thought that the pay-per-view was good. It was a 7.5 out of 10. I think the Royal Rumble was a little bit better. But, hey, you can't always have a great pay-per-view. 2012, as far as pay-per-views are concerned, are a little bit, just a step over last year's pay-per-views. Last year, it was 2 or 3 good ones, and, everyone else sucked completely. But so far, we're on to a decent start. I think that WrestleMania 28 is going to be absolutely fantastic. Some of the storylines for that pay-per-view have been built. Some of the seeds have been planted. I can just only hope, though, that afterwards they continue the trend of good pay-per-views.
Listen, there are filler pay-per-views, absolutely, and they definitely serve their purpose. But if you are going to create a filler pay-per-view, I'm not asking for poetry in motion. I'm not asking for modern art. I'm just asking for it to be to serve its purpose, to be at least give us a full 3-hour show. This was basically a 2-hour show. Nothing happened in that third hour. It was a U.S. title match that had zero build, aside from a segment where Natalya farts, and an ambulance match, which is probably one of the worst matches I've seen in a while, considering the stipulation. I mean, in terms of how boring it was, considering the stipulation, this was one of the most disappointing matches I've seen in a while. 2-hour show. The SmackDown main event the SmackDown Chamber probably should have been the main event in this thing. But yeah, I guess it's the goal of a filler pay-per-view is to at least build up, or the Elimination Chamber in particular, is to build up to WrestleMania, to get people hyped about WrestleMania. Like, you're going to see this. This is just a smidgen of what you're going to see at Mania. I think it failed in that objective. It didn't do its job, and if its job is just to be there, yeah, it did that. But you're supposed to get people excited for Mania. This pay-per-view did not do that for me.
Personally, I thought this was a 7 out of 10. I would have to. This has been the worst one of these since the inception of having 2 chambers at the show, mainly due to the supporting cast next to the chamber matches, which has traditionally been pretty strong with matches like Orton and Kane, Orton and Cena, stuff along those lines. I personally think this did a wonderful job building up. You had the Raw chamber, plant the seed for CM Punk and Jericho. The Divas title match continued to make Beth look strong, building her into WrestleMania as the person who has nobody to face, no competition. Even the John Laurinaitis segment planted the seed for a John Laurinaitis versus Teddy Long type feud where they each pick a person to represent them type deal. Maybe Orton and ADR was the rumor for that. And the SmackDown chamber, you had Brian win and Sheamus come out and start the build to that. So I thought this did a very good job up until the last two matches of building toward WrestleMania. So I think the pay-per-view really did its job, and I did in the end enjoy it. However, if you haven't seen it, I really wouldn't recommend going out of your way to see it.
Overall, I'd say that this was a good show. The 2 Elimination Chamber matches, they did a great job in bringing up the quality of the show. There was nothing spectacular on Elimination Chamber, but it does get a passing grade for me. I'll repeat what I said for the Royal Rumble, though. I'm still not feeling the WrestleMania spirit. So I kind of agree with Stu in that regard. I feel like they, I just don't know what it is, but I get like this sense in the air. Like I just feel it in the atmosphere when it's WrestleMania time, because I know that WWE, they start getting really serious and they like, you know, go balls to the wall, like all out. I don't feel like they're going all out right now. I had that same feeling with the Royal Rumble. I'm having that same feeling with Elimination Chamber now. And with this being the official, like there are no other pay-per-view stops from here until WrestleMania. So we have the first episode of Raw tonight, and I'm hoping that they really step it up. They really, really, really need to. I know that the Chris Jericho CM Punk thing, that's going to kick into high gear, and whenever The Rock graces us with his presence, then that'll be awesome too with him and John Cena. But yeah, as far as Elimination Chamber goes, good show. Wouldn't recommend it though. You know, it's just there. So
I really have to disagree. I really have to say they're doing very well with the bill. They have all their stuff ready to go for the next 6 weeks, and they have the Triple H and Undertaker stuff, which is amazing. So I think they're doing a very good job.
I'm talking about specifically with the pay-per-views, like the Triple H and Undertaker stuff. That stuff is amazing, but if I don't feel like the pay-per-views are a big enough event to get people excited about WrestleMania. Like I just feel like the pay-per-views are just there. You know, not
everything that happened everything up until the last two matches that happened on the show last night. I think it really did make me want to tune into Raw and SmackDown to see the follow-up to what they did start going towards WrestleMania at that show.
I'm gonna agree with Charlie, because the first 2 hours of the show were pretty darn good. I mean, I am one of the hardest I'm probably the hardest to please person on the show, or at least I'm cynical enough to come across that way. I really do think that was a great way to start off the show, but it was, like I said, it was a 2-hour show. The last hour killed that momentum for me so thoroughly that I quite literally became less interested. So they're going to have to work it back, and there's no reason why they can't, because a lot can happen in 6 weeks, 5 weeks? So a lot can happen in that span of time, and they can recover it without a doubt. I have no doubt that they can do that.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that they do, and that's where we're going to end our Elimination Chamber review. We'd like to thank all of you guys who tuned in to the show, this special edition of Pro Wrestling Talk Radio. We'll be back on Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, PWFEmpire.com. Thank you for tuning in. On behalf of all of my co-hosts, I am JayDub. Peace out.